Hello, it's me, Robin Peters, and this is my presentation on No Exit by Jean-Paul Sartre, by me, Robin Peters. So to start off here, main question is, who is Jean-Paul Sartre? And we've got some details here. He was born June 21st, 1905 in Paris, France. And he died April 15th, 1980, also in Paris, France. He was an existentialist philosopher, so, influential in that way in sort of saying, what is meaning? What does meaning mean for us as humans? That sort of idea. He graduated from the École Normale Supérieure in France in 1929. He used the phenomenological method of philosophical thinking, which basically means looking at the phenomenon of how things are enacted, as far as I understand. Notable work of his, noted here, Being and Nothingness, from 1943. That was an important philosophical work. And so he wrote a lot of novels, wrote a lot of nonfiction, but especially wrote a lot of plays. And after 1949, he returned to playwriting. Pretty much, he saw that the main way to sort of see what humans were up to. And he also declined the 1964 Nobel Prize for Literature, which is, a baller move for a guy with a lazy eye, I think. So then getting into this specific work that I'm talking about, No Exit, just got probably the most famous quote from it here is, hell is other people, right from the end of the play. And so on the left here, we've got sort of a more traditional idea of what hell is, by Hieronymus Bosch. And on the right, I've got closer to what I think Sartre is saying, with we've got a few people arguing. So, it's not really the fire and brimstone for Sartre that makes a hell. So the plot. Basically, we've got three recently deceased people, and they find themselves in sort of a apartment, hotel kind of situation, three sofas. They think they're in hell. They come to the conclusion that they're in hell and that they've been put there to torture each other. This isn't actually really confirmed by the text. It's just what the characters come up with. But they're sort of vindicated by, or perhaps trapped into it by, their own assumptions. It's very similar to The Good Place. If you've seen The Good Place, except a lot less fun than The Good Place. The Good Place has a lot more jokes in it. So the characters, we've got Garcin. He's from Rio, not from Buenos Aires, but I thought I'd put Johnny Rico here. Seemed relevant to me. He was shot for deserting the army, unlike Johnny Rico. He tormented his wife. He was, or at least wanted to be, a writer. Sort of unclear to me on that, whether he was a writer or he was running away to Mexico to start a pacifist newspaper. It's unclear to me what exactly he did before that. But he was definitely a coward. Everyone agrees he's a coward. And he just doesn't really want anything to do with the other two. At least at first. He's kind of philosophical about it in a way. Unlike the other two. And so we've got Estelle. And so Estelle, she's definitely a bit of a head case. She had a baby with her lover, not her husband. Husband, lover, two different people. And then killed the baby in front of her husband, and then her husband shot himself. Really just a very complicated web to weave. She's seeks validation or seeks physical companionship with Garcin, but that doesn't really get anywhere because there's someone else in the room that we'll get to in a minute. She wants to see herself in a mirror, but there's no mirrors in this hell, which is a bit weird. Another method of torture, perhaps. Then, last but certainly not least, we got Inez, who seems to crave the attention of Estelle, seems to view her in sort of a maternalistic way, which is probably connected to how she died as well. Seems kind of lesbicious to me. Is a little bit gay. Not quite sure. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but she's definitely a bit of a snob, bit sort of upper crusty, but also a bit of a third wheel in this scenario, which is not the easiest situation to be in, especially if you're a lesbian. And so then that sort of brings me into a bit of a personal anecdote here of when I was in high school, I did improv, and there's lots of different games in improv. One of my favorites was called Don't Lose, which is a simple, funny name for it. But the idea is that you have 3 people do a scene, and inevitably when you have 3 people just sitting there doing a scene or even just talking in real life, somebody almost always gets left out of the conversation, at least to some extent. And so your goal in the game Don't Lose is to not be that person that gets left out. And so it's all about status. It's all about how do you keep yourself involved in this situation. And this play really reminded me of that game and how it could be very torturous to be left on the outside in that sort of a way. Here's my bibliography. I was in the play, and then I had the Encyclopedia Britannical article. I really liked this play. I thought it was very interesting. It had all kinds of connections to other works that I've experienced in my life that I wasn't expecting. It was very exciting to me, and it was also short, which is always nice. And so that was my presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. And thank you for listening. Bye-bye.